for Charlie George, who can hit them. Oh, look, we go! Charlie George!
Discussing Arsenal football. This is Brian's review show.
Henry! What a goal! Inspiration for Arsenal from Thierry Henry.
And a good day to you folks. You're very welcome to Brian's Arsenal review show. Sorry for the delay coming with the new episode. A lot of football, of course, has been played in the last, I suppose, week and a half since I did the last programme. The last time I was talking to you was when we defeated West Ham, and then we previewed the Leeds game. And of course, Arsenal went on to beat Leeds 2-1 thanks to two early goals from Medina and Nketiah. And definitely the world looked a lot rosier that time. From an Arsenal point of view, we were in good position in fourth spot with a couple of games left. We had to go to Tottenham Hotspur then for the very next game. And of course, that did not go according to plan. Tottenham Hotspur absolutely outclassed us in the game. Goals from like Harry Kane and Son provided the ammunition that Tottenham needed to go a point behind Arsenal. And then an absolute disaster then against Newcastle on Monday night. So Tottenham end up 2 points ahead of Arsenal going into the final game of the season, which of course is against Everton in our case and Norwich for Tottenham Hotspur. So a very up and down time to be a Gunner fan, it must be said at the moment. Hugely disappointing couple of days for Arsenal fans. I think if you go back to the Leeds game, I was talking to a pal of mine who was over at the Leeds game, and he suggested we were kind of WhatsApping each other back and forth, and we both, I think, kind of agreed that the second half performance wasn't great from Arsenal. We had a 2-0 lead. Luke Ayling got sent off then for Leeds United, and Leeds, to their credit, they came back into the game and showed a bit of battle, really, in fairness. And I have a couple of mates that are Leeds fans as well, and they were very delighted with the performance that Leeds showed in the second half. We were very poor in the second half. We still had chances, I got 2 goals, as I said, from Medina and Nketiah early in that game, and then just a couple of chances we probably should have taken in the second half, particularly the Martinelli chance is one that springs to mind, and the Martin Odegaard chance as well, that kind of just went outside the post. But just a very flat second half from Arsenal. It could have been a chance to really boost our goal difference, and the way it turned out, we won 2-1, which was great, but we were hanging on a bit, and that goal we conceded from the corner was very disappointing as well, from an Arsenal perspective. And that possibly was the signs, I suppose, going into the Tottenham game. The Tottenham game, it was great because the world was a lot more rosier at the time because we got the win against Leeds, which was huge. We had a nice 4-point cushion going into the Tottenham Hotspur game, and all we needed was a draw, and possibly a win would have been the ideal scenario. If we win, we were in the Champions League. But what happened was we didn't turn up. Tottenham Hotspur turned up and they outclassed us, bullied us off the ball. Just such a, from an Arsenal fan's perspective, such an infuriating game to watch. Just to have that opportunity, to not take that opportunity, it was so disheartening, so disappointing. And that game against Tottenham, the early sending off from Rob Holding, Son just had him playing around the ropes of a ring, you could say, really, because he just had him under control. Wound up, I think, Rob Holding. And to be fair to Rob Holding, he's not a type of player that really gets wound up too easily. If you look throughout his Arsenal career, he hasn't been sent off for anything too many times. But it's just, such a frustrating part of that game was the fact that he did get sent off and the way it happened. And Harry Kane, of course, scored a penalty as well. Really stupid tackle from Cedric. I know that some fans afterwards were kind of saying maybe the referee was a bit, harsh on the call or anything. Listen, I think it's a soft penalty, but at the end of the day, if you give an opposition player a push in the back like that, chances are it will be given as a penalty, and that's exactly what inspired or conspired. And, the first goal in that derby game was huge. Just like the first goal in the Leeds game was huge, because Nketiah got the goal very early in that game. And if you look at the performance against Tottenham, that goal that Tottenham got early in the game, it was like in the 22nd minute, I think, just a massive goal at the time to get. And from there, Tottenham were really under control. Rob Holding, after a couple of tackles, eventually got a yellow card in the 26th minute, his first yellow card. And in the 33rd minute, a disaster struck really, and Rob Holden got a second yellow card and was given a red card, and I don't think he had too many complaints. I know the manager afterwards was very critical of the referee and everything, but listen, there was some aspects of Son's game that he got away with. I think Harry Kane got away with a lot as well. But some of the decisions, particularly that second yellow, I think Arsenal fans could have no complaints really. It was a definite foul. I don't think Son was innocent completely in the incident, mind you, leading up to that, but like the refereeing at times is poor. Like the penalty was incredibly soft, but it was a penalty, I think, because there was contact. There was a push behind the back, and then Rob Holding's red card added to the anger. And then a minute, it felt like a minute, but it was actually 4 minutes afterwards. Harry Kane got a second goal. A cross came in, and the defense is just all over the place really at the back, and Harry Kane got a goal there at close range. And the worst thing possible then was that Son got a goal then after halftime. I was expecting, you're down 10 men away from home and 2-0 down. What we expect is just kind of 1-0. You never know. 1-0, as Leeds proved in the game at the Emirates, that if you're 10 men down, you never know. You can't completely rule out a team out of the game. But as soon as Tottenham Hotspur got that third goal, when Son got that goal, and I know there was some fans giving out that maybe Gabriel was foul leading up to that goal. But yeah, from there on, it was just, Tottenham got that third goal in the 47th minute of the second half, and from there it was just a disaster. We had a couple of chances. Odegaard had a chance again, but if you look at the stats, we had 2 shots, 4 shots on target and 2 shots off target. But possession, we were 43% possession, whereas Tottenham had 57% possession, and they were the better team on the night. And just such an infuriating game. And I was listening to the Arsblog, Arscast, Gunner Blog and Arsblog talking, and they kind of suggested that this team, one thing they need to improve on is try and cope from a defeat. And we were hoping, at the game against Newcastle, we were hoping for a bit of a reaction to the Tottenham Hotspur result, and it was a huge game because Tottenham had beaten Burnley at the weekend, 1-0, another penalty for Tottenham, a Harry Kane goal, and they were ahead of us by 2 points, so we had to win against Newcastle to try and get back our 1 point gap again going into the last game of the season. And it was just like, I was very much furious watching the Tottenham game, but I think I was even more furious watching the Newcastle game because Newcastle deserved the win. There's no two ways about it. We absolutely awful on the night. Just so poor. I don't think any of the players played particularly well. I think Ben White was certainly carrying an injury, possibly a hamstring injury. I think he was carrying that during the game. Tomiyasu didn't look himself at all. Maximum for Newcastle had a splendid game. Such a really terrific player. Whether he'd be part of Newcastle's future plans, we'll have to wait and see. But he played very well. Tomiyasu could not deal with him at all, and it was such a shame he went off injured as well. And Cedric came on, and Cedric just such another really infuriating game from an Arsenal point of view. There's no two ways about it. We were just fucking poor all over the place in the field. Tavares, tried his best throughout at the left side there, but just like from the start, really, our midfield was being outrun, like Xhaka and Elneny. And Elneny has been very good recently, in fairness to him, but he wasn't great against Newcastle, and Xhaka wasn't great either. Odegaard was not at his best either. Saka will always try. Even at his worst, Saka will always work hard and try, but even he wasn't at his best. And Nketiah couldn't get into the game at all either. And the lineup was interesting because Arteta decided to put Martinelli on the bench and put Smith Rowe out the left side, and that didn't really work either. Smith Rowe couldn't get into the game either. And I'm not going to be overcritical of Smith Rowe or Saka because they've been brilliant for us and saved so many times in this season. But the players just were very poor in the night. The goals we conceded, the Tavares foul throw incident, that led to the goal that they just caught us on the break really, and a shame for Ben White that it was given as an own goal. It was an own goal, just a tired lunge to try and stop the ball from going anywhere into the box, and it just unfortunately hit his boot and went into the goal past Ramsdale. Ramsdale looked very iffy in goal as well. Some nervy moments early in the game, which was very worrying from an Arsenal point of view. And I really like Ramsdale. I think he's brought a lot to us this season. But I think just the last couple of games when the pressure's come on, he has been found at times, I think, very, wanting. I think, having said that, he made some good saves as well to keep us in the game in the second half. There was a point there when Pepe really infuriated me coming off the bench. He really there was a pass, like Pepe didn't come on to pass the ball across the field, particularly in Newcastle's box. He came in to try and nick a goal and try and get in through the left side defence, and it was just or the right side of defence in his case, because Saka was pushed out to the left at the time. But he just passed this crazy, stupid pass across the field, and it was Jacob Murphy, I think, that took the shot on for Newcastle, and it was a good save from Ramsdale. But just a lot of nervy moments in the Newcastle game. Even early in the game, the crowd were well up for. Of course, it was the last game at home of the season for Newcastle as well, and they were just well on top. When you look at the whole aspect of their game, Newcastle, they're a lot better than us. The duels we lost, just such a disappointing performance. It probably hurt more this performance, to be honest, than the one against Tottenham, because Tottenham were down to 10 men so early in the game, whereas this game we had 11 men on the field, and that team on paper should be playing a lot better than they showed on Monday night. And just handing the initiative back to Tottenham again, it's just so frustrating. It really, like, as an Arsenal fan, it does drive you nuts, because this was a seriously brilliant opportunity to get back in the Champions League. Whether this team would do well in the Champions League, they need serious investment too in the summer, and I think they still need investment and for the Europa League next season. If they end up there, of course, we can still hope and pray that Norwich might provide a miracle for us on Sunday. But I've kind of accepted the fact that we'll be in the Europa League next year. I don't think Tottenham will lose to Norwich City. I hope they lose, of course. My heart tells me let's hope that Tottenham lose, but my head tells me that Tottenham are too good of a side to lose to Norwich at Carrow Road, and unfortunately we'll most likely end up in the Europa League. I just hope that the game against Everton on Sunday, I just hope that we show, the fans have a good performance and get the win. And regardless of Everton's situation in the relegation zone, I know they're playing on Thursday night, but they need to show a performance with the fans, because the fans have been very united throughout the season. This season's been a real roller coaster ride when you think about it, because we've had so many great victories this season. We went to Chelsea, bet Chelsea, we played United, we bet United. I went to West Ham, we defeated West Ham. We put it up to Man City. I know we didn't win at home, we lost 2-1, but we played some of the best football we've played in a long time at home against City. We had a great day out against Leicester, against Aston Villa, teams we lost to last year. Hugely positive performance. Even our win against Tottenham earlier in the season was another highlight of the season. We had so many great wins this season against top teams, and the management will get criticism, and rightly so, I think, because I think the way we've crumbled in the last couple of games is just so frustrating. The Tottenham game was a bad one, and the Newcastle game was a hugely disappointing outing as well. To concede 5 goals, have a player sent off in the first game, and not have 1 goal in those 2 games, it shows the real importance, I think, in the summer of getting a striker, a central forward striker, probably 2 strikers we need, because if Lacazette goes, Nketiah, we're not sure what's going to happen with him either. And certainly a midfielder, we need a central midfielder, and definitely at the back as well, we need cover there at definitely right side and possibly the left side too. The Tavares is good enough for that level, I'm not sure. And certainly a goalkeeper, we need serious investment this summer once again. Like generally, we can't say the players that Arsenal bought last summer. You know, you had Tavares and Lakonga and Odegaard and Ramsdale and Ben White. If you look at those players on kind of a solo basis, we can't really say they've possibly Lakonga, but like Lakonga hasn't played enough football this year, and even when he was playing at times, he showed glimpses of a very good player, but he's probably just not ready for this level yet. Tavares is just Tavares can be brilliant 1 minute and he can be absolutely frustrating the next minute. You just don't know what you're going to get on him. He's all about chaos and mayhem as a footballer, and sometimes it's frightening just to watch him in action. Sometimes Ben White, I think, has been a great signing. I know he was listen. Ben White was carrying an injury against Newcastle the last day. I have no doubt about that. He wasn't 100% fit, and in fairness to him, there was a time there in the second half, the Jacob Murphy chance, I think it was, for Newcastle when he was taking on two Newcastle forwards. Wilson was causing serious problems for us during the game, and Maximum as well. So dangerous on that right side. You know, he had Tommy Asu and Cedric to take on during the game and bet them a good bit of the time with his pace and his power, and that's what he has in his game. But like, just going back to the Ben White point, Ben White defended really well when there was two players up against him for Newcastle, and you know that led to the Jacob Murphy save from Ramsdale. Ramsdale made a couple of good saves second half. Like, I'm not saying he was entirely bad during the game. Just the first half, he was very nervy. You know, a couple of the goal kicks were going out of play, or maybe not going where they should be, or going straight back to the opposition again. And there was a point as well when he almost, you know, there was a very close call there early in the game when Ramsdale just about got the ball out. And there was times as well, I think he gave the ball straight to, I think it might have been Callum Wilson again, and just luckily it bounced off Wilson away from him and back to Ben White or Gabriel again. So just the last while, I remember the game against Watford, you know, a couple of months ago there, Ramsdale looked very nervy in that game as well. Just at times this season, he's looked very bit shaky with his distribution. But as I said, I think he's been a positive in the club for sure. Ben White, as I mentioned, has of course been a positive to Tavares. Odegaard for me has been a fantastic player. I think the fact that he's captain as well, I think, is a positive. You know, just not their best game on Monday night. And my God, do you remember that chance that Dwight Gale had like late in the game and he chipped it over Ramsdale? I was like, oh my God, that'll be just something like goal of the season now for Newcastle, like against Arsenal. Of course, it was just like, oh God, please fucking no. But you know, and the second goal went in from Bruno Guimaraes. You know, the game was done at that stage. You know, Ramsdale came on, closed down. I think the ball came into Callum Wilson. He just, in fair play to Ramsdale, he came off fairly quick and got the ball off him. And Guimaraes was there just to finish it off. And of course, he had to score as well. A player that we were linked with in January that we decided not to go for in the end. Possibly could regret that for the season, but like I've like at that point the game was done anyway. I didn't, the way Arsenal were playing on the night, I just didn't fancy us coming back from 1-0 down, unfortunately. This team has a serious issue with coming back from a goal down under Arteta. We've only done it the game against Wolves is one I can think of straight away that we did when Pepe and Lacazette got the goals for us late in the game. But like bar that, we've been ahead in games and lost them. The game against our next opponents, Everton, you might recall at Goodison Park, Odegaard got an early goal in that game before Dwight Gale and Richarlison got the goals in for Everton. So we have a big problem, whether it's I think it's mostly coming back from behind, really. That's the big issue. Like you saw Man City at the weekend, they were 2-0 down away from home against West Ham. They came back and drew 2-2 and missed a penalty. Mahrez missed a penalty later in the game as well. So that's something that, if I'm looking for improvements in Arsenal, not just from the transfer point of view, I think that's one of the points I would look at, is that we need to learn how to come back from being a goal down in a game. Because once we go a goal down, you don't see Arsenal too often coming back from a deficit, and that's something we need to try and address, I think, and Arteta needs to try and fix as well in terms of his management style. You know, we were 1-0 down. He brought on Martinelli. Took off Smith Rowe, I think, was the very first sub. Well, before that, of course, Tommy Asu got taken off for Cedric. He brought Pepe on, brought Lacazette on, left Nketiah on, so he took off Gabriel, and he took off Tavares as well. And he just brought on lots of strikers try and get a goal, and I get it. Like, it's panic stations and trying to get a goal, and the best way to do that is in some ways maybe is to bring on forwards, but like maybe we took off too many defenders that definitely left us wide open at the back, which led to the second goal for Newcastle. So that's something that we have to try and address. I think Arteta needs to look into that. Listen, people might be critical of the timing of Arteta's contract extension. I have no issue with Arteta getting a contract extension. I'd be very much on board with that. Maybe the timing of it is a problem I may have with it. But in terms of him getting a contract, I've absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. I think he deserves it. Arsenal's aim this season, of course, was to get as high as possible up the table. I think getting into Europe first of all, was the big incentive. We've got that. We've got back in the Europa League, not in the Conference League, but that was the very minimum Arsenal had to do this season, and he's achieved that. At the moment, and it's very likely we'll miss out on Champions League football. And considering the position we were in, that's a huge disappointment. But I'm trying to be positive and say, listen, the players going into next season might learn from this, particularly the young players. They might learn what this pain is like and what the fine margins that they have and how to kind of deal with the pressure a bit better. We haven't dealt with the pressure well, particularly in the last two games against Tottenham and against Newcastle. As I said, we conceded 5 goals in those 2 games, between the 2 games, and we didn't score a goal either. We had 6 shots on target over the 2 games as well. We only had 2 shots on target in the whole Newcastle game, 4 against Tottenham, which is a huge concern. I've seen fans, calling out for Nketiah and El Neni to get contracts and everything. I think both players could be handy in a squad. Whether I don't know if they're good enough to start all the time. I think we definitely upgrade on both of those positions. The huge issue we have with Thomas Partey, is his injury record at Arsenal. He's been injured a lot more than he's been playing at times, and that's something we have to address, I think, and maybe get a player that could maybe not just do what Partey can do, but also stay injury free. Same applies with Kieran Tierney. I love Kieran Tierney. I think he's one of my favourite players at Arsenal for sure. But the problem with Kieran Tierney is he's been injured more than he's played it since he's become an Arsenal player. And that is a huge problem that they have to try and sort out going into the next season. The goalkeeping issue, as we said, Leno's probably going to go in the summer. Whether Ramsdale is going to be still number one or the new keeper might come in and take that position, we'll have to wait and see. We certainly need another right back. I think Cedric there's such a big gap between Tomiyasu and Cedric and Tierney and Tavares that we need cover at both of those places. Possibly, William Saliba is supposed to be coming back into our plans next season, and he's been named Young Player of the Year in France as well. So he's very much a player that's part of Arteta's plans, I am sure, after having such a great season in Marseille. I think ultimately when you look back on the season, I think January is a pivotal point. The club took a chance. They decided not to sign anyone in January. We got rid of the likes of Callum Chambers and Maitland-Niles, and decided to and Aubameyang, of course, as well. We decided that we didn't need them at the club. We may have come to regret that. I think I would have rather have kept Callum Chambers. I think he would have been handy at the back. Possibly Maitland-Niles as well. I think Maitland-Niles has that bit of versatility. He could play in most positions. That is something that we probably missed. I think Aubameyang going. Listen. I've seen some people saying Aubameyang's gone on to do well at Barcelona, and he has been brilliant at Barcelona, but he was ready to leave the club. Aubameyang. Arteta himself had fallen out. Funny enough, Everton. The game against Everton was actually his last game for Arsenal, if I remember correctly. With the game we lost 2-1 at Goodison Park, he hadn't appeared since in an Arsenal jersey, and whatever fallout happened there, we might see more of that in the All or Nothing documentary that's coming out in the summer. But Arteta took a chance. He said we don't need Aubameyang. We're going to stick with Nketiah and Lacazette for the season as our main goal threat, and Lacazette hasn't scored many goals, and Nketiah has chipped in a bit the last while, but it's a chance that Arteta took, and whether it backfired or not, I'm not sure. But I think Aubameyang was done at Arsenal. I think he needed to move on from the club, and the club needed to move on from him. So that's the chance we took with that. But as I said, Maitland-Niles maybe and Callum Chambers I may have considered keeping a bit more. I just think the versatility they both have, particularly Maitland-Niles, I think would have come in handy during the latter parts of the season. But if you look back throughout the season, the losses to the likes of Crystal Palace, Southampton, Brighton as well, and of course losing to City and Liverpool is no great shame, because like most teams lose to them. But it's the games, as I said, those games that I mentioned there, they're the ones that hurt the most. Um, United game at Old Trafford was another one that got away from us as well, that we could have got something out of, a point here and there. I think there's points we dropped that we should have got something out of. Like, the one that infuriates me a good bit when I think back in the season is the game at Goodison Park against Everton when we lost 2-1. That was just such a really infuriating game again, because we took the lead in that game 1-0, Odegaard just before half time. Perfect time to get a goal. And then we concede goals to Richarlison and to Demarai Gray later in the game. The last kick of the game was just such an infuriating game, that one, to lose 2-1 after being given the perfect lead as well. But like, VAR to me has a lot to answer for this season from an Arsenal point of view, because like some decisions that went against us in VAR, that game in particular, I remember Ben Godfrey stood on Tomiyasu's face, I think it was, and just, you're like, how is that not at least a red card? It's endangering the player. Nothing given. Crazy stuff when I think back to it, but again, it's just one of those weird decisions in that game that went against us. At the point we drew 0-0 with Burnley as well at the Emirates, that was another very frustrating outing as well from the season. Points that we dropped here and there, but that run we went on where we lost to Palace, Brighton and Southampton was really damaging. I think we came back very strong, to our credit. We bet Chelsea, United and West Ham after that, and Leeds then, but to lose then to Tottenham and to Newcastle again, it's just an absolute roller coaster of a season this year. It's this game against Everton now, it's a huge game for Everton as well as ourselves. It's on Sunday at 4:00, and Everton at the minute they're fighting a relegation battle at the minute, so they'll be up to try and get as much as they can out of the game. But Arsenal have to win the game. Like, regardless if Norwich beat Tottenham or not, Arsenal have to win the game to end the season on a reasonable high in front of their own fans. It stings that it's going to be Tottenham above us by the end of the season, but that's the way. That's football. That's the chances you take when you follow your football club. Richarlison is one of the main players up front for Everton for sure, and Demarai Gray as well, and Calvert-Lewin at times can be very dangerous. Alex Iwobi, Holgate, and them I quite like there as well. So they have some dangerous players there at Everton, but like, Arsenal have got to go out at the Emirates and win that game, because, as I've already mentioned, they have to end the season on a high in front of the fans, and just end on a as reasonably good spirit note as you possibly can, and hope that Norwich can do us a favour at Carrow Road, which is, I think, unlikely. But like, we've seen weirder things happen in football, so we have to keep the faith and keep the heart. If Norwich beat Tottenham and we beat Everton, we're in the Champions League. But again, I've kind of accepted the fact now at this stage that we're going to end up in the Europa League after the damaging results of Monday and last Thursday night. So that's where my head is at, in that department. I still think the season has progressed, though. Having said that, we've had some very good days out there in terms of wins. The wins against Chelsea and Leicester and teams like that, for example, have been huge highs in the season. It's the collapse towards the end that's been very costly for us. That's going to probably sting and stay in the fans' minds. But I think overall this season has been pretty successful for Arteta. His main goal was to get back into Europe, and he achieved that by, at the very minimum, ending up in the Europa League, and that's the main objective in the season. At least now they can provide a bit of attraction to providing players to the club. Of course, our budget will be affected, our revenue will be affected. There's not as much revenue in the Europa League as there is in the Champions League, which is a bit of an issue for sure. But reports I've read throughout media outlets is that Arsenal's plans in the summer have not been altered. Like, they still have an objective and plans of what they want to do, regardless of where they end up in the table. But I'm sure it'll be a lot easier to attract the likes of Gabriel Jesus from Man City, who has been linked with us, to join Arsenal if there was Champions League football involved. But it's the life of being an Arsenal fan. You have to live in hope and wait and see. But at the end of the day, I do hope you enjoyed today's podcast, just talking about the last couple of games, against Leeds and Tottenham and Newcastle United. We have a huge game now at 4 o'clock on Sunday against Everton. It's a massive game, and let's hope that Norwich can do us a favour as well by possibly getting the results that we need against Tottenham. But it's unlikely, but you never know. Football can be a very strange and funny game. That's why we love it, and also can drive us mad at the same time. Also, a shout out to the Arsenal ladies team who just barely missed out on winning the league. Chelsea went on to win the league, of course, but fair play to the Arsenal ladies team. They really gave it a right good go at the end, at the tail end of the season, and they're definitely going places. And of course, Ireland's own Katie McCabe is in that team as well. So it's definitely a positive to see the Arsenal women's team coming back into the fold once again in the women's football game. That's about it for me for Brian's Review Show. Of course, you can check out all previous podcasts on our YouTube channel, Brian's Review Show, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and you can see all the other lists tuning as well around as well. You can check all that out on our YouTube channel, and also we're on Acast, and of course we are on Twitter as well. You can find us on Brian's Review Show on Twitter. Give us a follow as well. Keep an eye out for more good content. But that's it for me for now. Keep the faith, Gunners. Let's hope that Norwich can do us a favour on Sunday. Take care, and up the Gunners.
Oh, Charlie George, who can hit him. Oh, Rodrigo! Charlie George!
Discussing Arsenal football. This is Brian's Review Show.
Henry! What a goal! Inspiration for Arsenal from Thierry Henry.